Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Weekend Wrap, brought to you by CrowCast, of course. And weekend probably couldn't have gone any better. Not only did we do what we needed to do, but other results fell our way, and means that we avoid the wild card, which is a best case outcome. So lots to talk about tonight, and it wouldn't be the same without my partner in crime on Sunday nights. Big man, how are you, sir?
Good, mate. Yeah, you made a good point. A lot of results went our way yesterday, which is funny because last week none of them did.
Yeah,
So for a few clubs to do us a favour on Saturday was really nice. But we had to get the job done ourselves, and we did,
yep, and we
which
did,
is great.
and Matthew Nix needn't bother purchasing any lottery tickets because I reckon he's used up all his luck. Don't forget, mate.
We were juiced luck, mate.
Yeah, true.
We were juiced luck.
Don't forget that the CrowCast is brought to you by the good people at Next Body Corporate Services for all your body corporate management needs, strata or community title. No commissions, zero commissions at all. Sorry, I'm repeating myself. One flat fee. Good people to deal with, great service, and you can find them at nextbcs.com.au. G'day to everyone who's joined us on the Discord chat and also on the YouTube chat. Don't forget, if you're on Discord tonight, you can put your hand up and we'll get you on board to have your say. And if you're on YouTube, you can drop a super chat and we will certainly discuss your comment. Let's quickly have a look at what happened over the weekend round, obviously with one left to go, but that's looking like a pretty comfortable victory to Hawthorn. So we had Gold Coast getting up over the Saints, Brisbane doing a number on Collingwood, Carlton getting the job done over Fremantle. The Bulldogs just let's just all send a card to Bevo for getting that job done. 108-87 over Melbourne. Geelong doing what they needed to do against Richmond. Port or Essendon probably doing what they needed to do over Port, looked like winning and then decided number one pick was better. Sydney, a pretty gutsy win over an insipid North Melbourne, I should say, although North Adelaide probably better. And as it stands at the moment, Hawks up by 52 points over West Coast, gunning for third spot. I think they need to kick probably about another 6 or 7 goals to get that sorted out. Radicus on YouTube, thanks mate as always. I do not want to face flipping Collingwood. We all know the idiot journos will fire up the booing. Well, long way to go there. I think Collingwood is the only team we can't... Oh no, we can play Collingwood. I think maybe Carlton's the only team we can't play in the first week. Anyway. So there it is, and we'll just quickly look at the ladder as it stands, obviously with Hawthorn still playing, so they will go above us, obviously, and possibly over, they'll go over Geelong as well, and possibly over Brisbane, depending on how far they get there. But it's Fremantle minor premiers, Sydney in second, Brisbane at the moment on third, Geelong in fourth, but Hawthorn going to jump both those two. Adelaide will end up in sixth, and then we'll have the wild card of Melbourne, the Bulldogs, Collingwood and Carlton playing off next week. It'll be Melbourne v Carlton and the Bulldogs and Collingwood playing off. And those missing out, St Kilda, the Giants, Gold Coast, North, Port, West Coast, Richmond and Essendon winning the number one pick. So, mate, as I said, everything fell our way, and it all started on Saturday afternoon with and the Dogs, just kept Melbourne in it nicely for a long period of time.
Yeah, it was a hard watch at times, that game, but credit to the Bulldogs. Melbourne haven't barely lost a game with that ground all year, so for them to get the job done with a slightly depleted team and do us a big favour was great. I must admit, it made me a bit nervous
Oh
because
yeah,
it meant that our game actually meant something, and that we had to actually do our part. And we
yep.
know how great our club goes under pressure and expectation. But yeah, to be fair, to their credit, they actually got the job done, which was good. And it looked shaky in that second quarter, but apart from that, it was a pretty comprehensive win.
Yeah, it looked for a little while like we were going to capitulate and do an Adelaide, but no, in the end we did it on the bit. And it was a fantastic celebration of Taylor Walker's career, I thought. The pre-game was pretty good, and obviously kicked 6 goals, which we'll talk about in a minute. But just a fantastic celebration, and it means that we can put all that aside now and have a really good run into the final series, and Tex can just do what Tex does for as long as we remain a live prospect. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I agree. Like we talked about how we wish Tex played against at Freo, and that we may miss the trick there, but at least credit to the club. They did a great job celebrating Tex on Saturday night, and there's no doubt, especially in that first quarter, it gave us a real boost of emotion and energy. You can
Yeah,
really sense that
definitely.
in the crowd and through the players as well. And
Yeah.
for him to kick 6 in that occasion, he has a habit of bobbing up big in those sort of games. And yeah, no, he was immense, as was a few of our players.
Oh, and just about took mark of his career in his final home and away game. They would, if it was
Uh,
Gary Ablett Senior, they would have paid it, but unfortunately, it wasn't.
I'm just glad he didn't break his neck, mate.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And he got the free. I don't know what that was for, tunneling,
Yeah,
but it
that was
wasn't
bullshit.
really.
Yeah.
But for those who didn't know, Adelaide 24-13, comfortable 56-point victors over GWS 15-11-101. For Adelaide, Ranks had 35, Jordan had 32, and Benny Keys 25. For the Giants, Lockie Hash had 26, Clayton Oliver had 25, Whitfield 21. Goal scorers, Tex had 6, Ranks had 4, and Keys Seagold 3. And for the Giants, Jake Stringer had 6, Cadman had 2, and Toby Green had 1. Helped out early by Taylor getting HIA. Left them really short down back, and we were able to take advantage of that. But I thought at times, big man, our ball movement looked pretty good, but at other times it still looked a bit stagnant.
I think that's fair. There were definitely some times where we went back to going sideways or hot potatoing it by handball backwards and sideways as well. But
Mm.
it was definitely an intention to use the corridor when possible. And there's certain players in particular who really try to do that. And most of the time it actually paid off, which is hopefully an indication that we'll try it again in the finals. But yeah, I mean, it was an interesting game. It was very much a scoreboard heavy game. Lots of goals, not a whole lot of great defending by both teams. And as you mentioned, the Giants copped that Sam Taylor hit, so that makes things pretty hard when you got 3 guys who can take a mark for us up forward. But we couldn't really slow their bloody ball moving down either. So both teams sort of were under the pump a lot in defence, and I mean, it shows in the scoreboard. I think it was the highest scoring game overall for the year. So I think that's a great indication of how things played out.
Yeah. I wouldn't say necessarily it was bruise free, but it was certainly
No.
wasn't played with a high intensity in the contest. Both sides wanted to maintain possession and get the ball outside as quickly as possible and run it. So, as you said, it turned into a bit of a shootout. I thought there were some good signs, but I didn't think that put it this way, I didn't think the game replicated what we're going to be up against in finals. There was no real front of pressure from GWS. A lot of zoning and a lot of getting behind the contest, etc. So I don't think it was representative of what we're going to see in a couple of weeks' time. But having said that, you can only do what you can do on the ground, and I felt like there were some really good passages of play at times. I do still have a real question mark over our connection between midfield and forward 50, though. So many times we would come into the corridor and then we would go out to the half-forward flank, and it just... Not many other teams do that, big man, and I was in the riverbank, I should say, and the amount of times we had direct entry into forward 50, but with just that last kick could go out wide again, and it limits you. I know it limits the rebound risk as well, but God, it's frustrating at times.
There's two sides of the coin here, isn't there? I mean, on one side, you're right. It does obviously box you into one side of the ground, but at the other side, at least it meant that a lot of the time we weren't just bombing it to a pack, near the goal square. It was usually followed by a kick to a lead or to a player that was in a 1v1. So I know what you're saying. I didn't hate our forward entries, though. I think what stood out to me, though, was particularly in the first half, we're just not set up for that forward handball game. And we tried it a few times, and it rarely worked for us. I think on occasion when Rankin was involved, it worked because he's just so bloody slick. But a lot of the time, it just got us into trouble because we'd forward handball it, and then an opposition player would just, come and tackle the guy who receives it. We're not set up to have guys free to receive. They always got a man on them.
No, we have a lot of stationary players in transition when we're trying to do it. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly. But I did like the fact that we. There you go.
No, I was just going to say, often when we handball the ball forward, it's actually to a player with his back to the goals and kind of stationary, and it's not fluent, and it's because we haven't trained it.
Yeah, you don't have those links of 3, 4, 5 guys to the corridor like you see Carlton and some other teams do.
Yeah,
but I did like the fact we often gave to receive. The player running past, particularly if they were the sort of quick or good ball user type players, Hawker Hahn especially, and Cook and others. And so that was good to see. I thought there was some intent to play quickly most of the time, but we did go back into old bad habits at other periods as well, particularly in that second quarter. That wasn't the only reason we were shit in the second quarter, but it was one of the reasons for sure.
Yeah, we kind of came out with a bang in the first quarter, and then we were a bit subdued. It was almost like, all right, we got this sorted, and we'll just sort of go through the motions. And all of a sudden, GWS have gone, well, we're still here, lads, and we're still, good footballers. So it was a bit disappointing. But again, after half time, the game opened up a bit, and then. I mean, really, it was relatively contested probably until the last 15 minutes when it just opened up because the game was over, and there were a good couple of goals there at the end. But I don't take much out of it either way. I'm not, it was a good win, but it was a good win that. I mean, the only positive for me is that we didn't fluff our lines. We came switched on, and we came with purpose, and obviously they would have seen the result during the day and knew what it meant for them. So they did what they had to do, and I guess that's really all you can ask for with players not really wanting to get injured and, or reported or, anything like that.
Yeah. With the scenario that, it was going into that game, it had me nervous, and I certainly would have thought the players would be nervous as well because, yes, as we said, suddenly there was something actually really riding on this game. So I think that can't be underestimated, just how important it was that we came out strong and played a really good first quarter instead of going to our shells and letting the occasion get to us. So that's a good sign because we've seen in past instances that's not always the case. Now, I know that the Giants had nothing to play for except for pride and just the competitiveness that comes with being an AFL footballer, but
contracts.
Yeah, and stuff like that. But it's not nearly as much as we had to play for. So I understand that. Yeah. But I mean, Richmond had nothing to play for 2 weeks ago, and we didn't handle that occasion very well at all. So it was good to see us actually play, decisive attacking footy, and I mean, we won almost every metric as well, which was good. And probably the greatest positive from it is not just the fact that we, got out of the wildcard system, but maybe a big confidence boost for a number of players who've probably been a bit down or in form. Not all of them, but there's definitely a few guys like that come to mind where I think they would have benefited from having a big game like they did on Saturday.
Yeah, a few blokes got a bit of the agate and would have worked their way into a little bit of form. So it was probably less so form, more just confidence, I guess, just getting their hands on the ball a bit. A couple of concerns still, but overall, I think it was a good hit out for him. A good, like it was more than a training run. Pardon me. Which was good. And as you say, we did quite well in most of the metrics. As you can see, so much for that. That's not working. I will read it off the AFL website instead. Bear with me a second. Yeah, 400 to 330 disposals, 226 kicks to 175, 174 handballs to 155. Inside 50s, we won by 9, 64 to 56. Disposal efficiency up around 75, which is what you want. Inside 50 efficiency was good, 56%. Free kicks were even. I thought McAndrew had a good battle with Briggs. Briggs is an underrated ruckman in my opinion. 42 hitouts to 36. Had a few more hitouts to advantage though than Briggs, and we got some good numbers out of that. 41 clearances to 30 overall, 24 to 13 in centre, and 17 apiece around stoppage, which was good. Contested possessions, 150 to 106, so we monstered them around the contest, as you might probably expect for a team that aren't really up for it. Uncontested 237 to 209, turnovers 54 to 61. We had the ball 47% of the time compared to their 37, so we controlled the game pretty much. In the air, 89 marks to 64, 16 to 13 inside 50, 13 to 5 contested is a very good outcome. And defensively, they tackled a little bit more, probably because we had more of the ball. But we won pretty much every stat that we needed to, relatively comfortably, really.
The centre work was particularly impressive. We obviously have to keep in mind that the Giants have most of their A-grade midfield out. No Callaghan, no Tom Green, which has obviously been the case for the whole year as well, and even Josh Kelly. But it was still impressive to see what we were doing in there. We had some really nice, clean exits, some courtesy of some great tap work from Lockie McAndrew, and guys like Rankin and obviously Dan Curtin as well. Had some really good moments. Obviously, you need to replicate that against much better opposition in a fortnight's time, but that was pretty promising to see, just to see how much sway we held in an area that we've really struggled with this year.
Yeah, probably the only thing that kind of still a work in progress, I guess, is our transition work. Our defensive 50 to forward 50 and forward 50 score, etc., were just average against a team that wasn't putting a lot of frontal pressure on. So as we stated at the outset, it's not a strength. It's not a strength, and it's probably our biggest worry, I think, going up against some of the teams that we're likely to face in the next month or so. Our ability to get through zones and to get some overlap and not get bogged down with high defensive kicking down the line is going to be a real key, I think, as to whether we progress at all or whether we struggle. But all the other metrics were very good, as you'd expect, with that sort of a scoreline.
I was curious, boss. Why do you think we struggled to contain their forwards? All night it seemed like they were able to get shots on goal. And initially they weren't converting, but then they did start hitting the scoreboard. And even though we were playing reasonably well ourselves, we couldn't seem to stop their transition, particularly from the back half. And then when they got up 4, we just weren't particularly good at defending, and they often were the ones that were front and center and clean it with the ball. And it just seemed like we didn't sweat on them as much as our defense has done so far this year. Did you see anything in particular that stood out?
Oh, the only thing that I saw, I mean, there was a distinct lack of physical pressure on the ball carrier. But I didn't think we got back as hard as what we would normally do. So we were kind of leaving our back six a little bit more exposed than they're probably used to. Often Knicks will get a player behind the ball, or will just generally, suck back as the opposition are transitioning forward. I didn't think we had the numbers going back as much. Whether that was just by design or whether it was just the way the game panned out. But I think that's a major... I think we've got a few concerns down back. Josh Worrell is not in good nick.
Yeah.
And I think that is... he was on Stringer for most of the night, and Stringer carved him up. Mark Keane we've spoken about in terms of his one-on-one capabilities. Ball sit all right, but it was more their mediums that got us. I just think it was a bit of a lack of energy, mate, more than anything else.
That's a bit of concerning, though, isn't it? Given that there was a lot riding on the result. As you sort of alluded to earlier, there was a feeling that once that first quarter was done, we sort of felt we already had it in the bag, which we didn't, but there was that sort of energy about us that dropped off. And we had to get it back in the second half. But yeah, I was just a bit concerned about, given what was at stake, that we weren't able just to restrict them as much as usual, because I know we've had some wet games this year, which probably contributes to it, but we're still the second hardest team to score against this year overall in terms of points against. So it was just a bit worrying. That's 200 plus scores have coughed up in the last 2 weeks now. So,
come on, Matty.
Yeah, hopefully.
Come on, Matty.
For whatever reason, mate.
I think we earned the right just to run the ball on Saturday.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. It was not that kind of game. Like, it was evident that we had their measure from very early on, and yes, we kind of let them sneak in again, and it got to about 3 goals or 3.5 goals or whatever at one stage in the second. But I never really felt like we were in any danger, and I felt like we had, personnel-wise, we had them covered pretty hard. They had like 7 or 8 first-pick players out. And I just don't think it was the kind of game. It was never going to be a high-pressure, intense kind of game. And it looked to me like we just particularly once Taylor went off, it just looked to me like we were content just to outscore them. And that's really how it played out.
That's fair enough.
I wouldn't. I'm not putting much score on or much weight on anything other than the result. From what I saw, it wasn't a particularly organised game. I didn't think. We didn't seem to be running too many structures. It was just more we were quite intent to try and move the ball. And we didn't really... I didn't see too many defensive setups. Like I said, I didn't see the mids get back too hard. I felt like we were trying to maintain numbers through the middle of the ground so that we could run the ball, so we didn't want to commit too far behind. I just don't think it's a game that you could drag any sort of form line from, to be honest.
Not fair enough.
You have a look at our score origins. It was fairly even. We got 9-3 from the back half, 10-8 from the forward half, which is obviously forward half turnovers. 5-2 from centre, which is pleasing because that's not a strength of ours, really. As I said, it was just the transition stats that were pretty average still, despite the lack of pressure. But in every other metric, we really had them covered. We had far more territory. the thing that sticks out to me is handball meters gained. So despite us wanting to run the ball, we still only had 80 meters gained off handballs compared to 419. It's just not in our DNA. So it's just not something that we're good at. And you've got to train that stuff. Blokes need to know what patterns to run, not just be the next man. The amount of times we handballed sideways instead of forward, particularly in the defensive half across half back, was almost like a rugby line rather than progressing forward. And that's not going to get it done because you're just inviting turnovers from high pressure sides doing that.
Yeah, as I said, it was a lot of hot potato action by hand, and yeah, I think we can all agree we've missed a trick there with our preparation for the season. So the coaches have to own that, and we'll have to see what we can do with our own game style, in the final series. But all indications are that the handball forward game is the way to go this year, and obviously we just didn't invest in that like other teams.
I think all is not lost. I think what we need to concentrate on is that first possession from a stand situation. Rather than going back, we need to be either getting off that mark real quick or giving off on a handball real quick. We can still use the ball by foot, but we've got to use it quicker than what we have been. So we're never going to be the highest handball side, but not this year anyway. But if we can put blokes into advantage to then kick without too much pressure and be quite direct with our kicks, then we can still do some damage. I think that's probably the best we can hope for. We're certainly not going to be, a 400, 500 metres gain off handball side ever this season. And if we tried to be that, we'd get destroyed because we're just not clean enough.
Correct.
So individually, it was really the Isaac Rankin show. Let's be honest. I mean, one of the better games you'll see from an Adelaide player, and Ranks just absolutely, like, his first quarter was immense. His play rating at quarter time was 19.6, which is absolutely off the charts. And the good thing is, in the last quarter, even though the game was, one and done, and he spent the last few minutes on the bench, he still had a 10.8 rating. So just a fantastic game from Isaac. He had 35 touches, 23 kicks, 12 handballs. He had 845 metres gained, 6 inside 50s, 8 pressure acts, 17 contested possessions, 10 ground ball gets. Got that. 4 goals from 5 shots, 10 score involvements. 12 clearances. It's just an Andrew McLeod game at his best.
Oh yeah, Mac would be happy with that one. The Bungie Mac and not the other Mac. I'm not sure he'd be happy with it too. But it was insane, and that was probably aside from probably the Zaya Wanganeen Miller game earlier this year, where I think he had 6 and 40 or something ridiculous like that. This might be the best one since then. And the 4 goals he kicked, they were all absolute rippers. Like, they weren't easy goals.
No, that's right. He made a couple of them look easy.
Yeah, well, he's just a freak. He's an absolute magician. His cleanliness on the deck, his quick gives, there's little sleight of hand handballs that he does, that release other players, and he's playing with such an air of confidence at the moment. It's amazing to see, and he's absolutely at the top of his game, and it's so exciting because I think we always loved what Isaac brings, but I think the question mark was, does he have enough in his, the whole the whole well-rounded game to be a genuine A-grade midfielder. But I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, of course he does. Based on what we're seeing right now. Now I know he's going to get some hard tags and stuff, but not every team tags. There's only a few select teams that actually really do it. So chances are he's going to, you know, have some really good seasons of footy coming up. He might even get better in some ways. But yeah, in terms of the form right now, I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more going to finals, especially for a guy that's never played in one, and he'll
Yeah,
have a lot
that's right.
to atone for last year. So he's super motivated. He was obviously loving his footy, and I'm really glad to see it, because there was probably a stage earlier this year where I was concerned that he may have lost the love for footy.
Yeah, me
It's
too.
I mean, you only had to look at him on Saturday night, boss, to see that he's well and truly up and about.
Yeah, 100%. The thing that I'm noticing with Ranks is that the game is really slowing down for him. He seems to have that
Yeah.
extra moment that the really, really good players do. He's obviously in a bit of a flow state with his footy at the moment, and they ran Angwin with him. It wasn't what I'd call a hard tag, but they did have someone running with him, but he just blew them apart. And he's got so much time. He's so clever with his ball use. He's very clean with his hands. He doesn't mind getting his own ball. And what it does do is just takes a little bit of the heat off Geordie Dawson in the middle. Allows Dawson to be a little bit more of a link player and a little bit more outside. We can use Dawson, around the ground a little bit more. The only thing that's going to slow Rankin down is a hamstring. It's probably the best, month to 6 weeks of football you want to see. And if ever you wanted someone running into form at the right end of the season, it's Ranks, and he's an absolute standout in the competition at the moment. Speaking of Geordie, was interesting game from Geordie. He had 32 touches, 17 and 15. Wasn't the cleanest game, although he went at 75%, but probably wasn't the cleanest game from Dawes that you'd ever see. It's a little bit messy at times, but 20 pressure acts, 10 contested possessions. He had 5 clearances. Didn't hit the scoreboard, although he did have 1 goal assist and 8 score involvements. It was a good game from Jordan, but I felt like he was doing what he had to do. But he was still able to rack up 32 touches.
Yeah, big numbers. Probably not the most consistent ball use and decision making we've seen from Jordan. I think that's an area where he's really tightened up this year. There's 1 or 2 years ago he was a bit more sporadic with his ball use, but last night he was definitely. It was a few moments where he probably would have wanted his time again with some of his kicks, but I mean, when you get 32 touches, you're bound to make at least a couple of mistakes. So, no, he was good. And as you said, Rankin has taken some real heat off Dawson. That's another positive too. Even if Rankin does get tagged to oblivion by an Ocean Mullen or one of those types, it releases Dawson to have a big game, and he's copped a few tags this year, so I'm sure he'll appreciate a bit of relief. And look, if we're not complaining, but if we're slightly underwhelmed by Jordan Dawson 32 touch game, then we're probably a bit ungrateful, because I mean that's pretty handy numbers from anyone. So no, he was good. He was good without being outstanding.
Yes, and to have 2 mids both up over 30 touches at 75% and a combined, call it 1,300 metres gained, you've got to be happy with that. 27 contested possessions between the two of them. That's really what you want from your 2-star midfielders. Speaking of midfielders, was really, really good to see Dan Curtin get a sustained run in the midfield this game, and I felt like after initially struggling a bit just with his positioning and his he didn't seem to be clicked in. 74% CBAs. He had 5 clearances. But in the second half, he really started to lean into his work, and I thought there was some real promising signs from him after half time. He had 22 touches in the end, 11 kicks, 11 handballs, 306 metres gained. He had 13 pressure acts, 13 contested possessions. He had where's clearances? As I said, 5 clearances. Score involvements. He had 8 score involvements. It was a pretty good game after probably just a little bit of a fumbly first half and just kind of easing into it.
Yeah, 4 of those 5 clearances were centre clearances too. So
Yes.
yeah, that's the really important ones, and so that was good to see. And yeah, you summed it up pretty well, mate. He was definitely involved in the first quarter. The problem was half the time he was fumbling or a couple of handballs that didn't quite go to the right spots, and maybe just some nerves, or you're still figuring things out, obviously a little bit as well. Just the extra heat that's obviously in there when you're in the Hell's Kitchen of the midfield, and it was a bit worrying when he fell out of it in the second quarter, because he's done that over the last few weeks as well, where he's had a hot start, like the Freo game, and another one as well. Maybe it might have been the Essendon game or the Richmond game as well, where he sort of drifted out of it after a good start.
Yep.
But for him to sort of to play really well in that second half, and in particular that last quarter, and just show some of the things he brings to the table, was really pleasing. And he doesn't look out of place at all in there.
No, I think he's still coming to realise what he can do in there too.
Yeah, he's obviously going to come up against better opposition in the finals, but you can see how much there is to work with there. And I mean, it was funny seeing him take two or 3 tacklers on, and obviously he got caught, but he is so big. Like that tackle he laid on McMullen, he just ragdolled him. Like, he's just such a mammoth dude. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
And some of those center clearances, they were great, but he could have taken some grass, and actually accelerated and stuff like that. But that will come in time as he gets more and more used to it. A bit like Rankin, as you said. Rankin's in that state now where the game's slowed down for him and it's easy for him. That will eventually happen for Curtin as well.
Yeah.
And then you got the goal.
Yeah.
The goal was insane. It was so
it was great. Such a nice little fake move, and then just power through.
Oh, he's got tricks with his more movement and sideways lateral, stuff, and even his straight line speed as well. He's a very unique player and an athlete, and he's only 21. He's only still just getting used to the caper. He's coming off a dislocated kneecap, so there's been reasons why he's obviously been a bit slightly unders this year, I think, from what we expected, but that was really exciting, and I think going forward, I think that's your trio. That's your starting trio right there. Dawson, Rankin, and Curtin. And then obviously we need to get some more in there as well. But that's a pretty handy 3, especially
that's a start. That's a star midfield.
Yeah, once Dan comes into his own, that really gets things going. And then obviously eventually, because there's some similarities to Dawson. Eventually we can move Geordie out of there and hopefully replace him with someone else, and Geordie can play a bit more of a less taxing role where he can obviously use his height and his marking ability more. So it's great. It's great that we're already making that transition. It took a bit of time, but for him to get the equal most centre bounces on Saturday night was really pleasing. I know we didn't have heaps of midfielders to work with, but I'm glad Nixie actually committed to it, and we saw the rewards.
Yeah, agreed. Well summed up. The big beast had a little bit of a return to form. Admittedly, after Taylor went off, he had things a bit easier, but he outmarked Taylor a couple of times before all that. So he had a good game. What did he have? He had 14 kicks, 7 handballs. He took, where are you, Riley? 9 marks, 2 of them contested. Which surprised me, actually. I thought he took more of those contested, but I think it's just because he got out in front on the lead a fair bit and led his opponent to the ball. And of course he kicked, how many goals did he kick in the end? He had kicked 3 goals, 4. He could have had more. The only thing, Riley Thilthorpe, if you're listening, point your bloody toe at the target when you're kicking the ball, mate, because every time you kick those little cross-the-ball whiffers and they go high to the right, it's like my old golf swing. Got to swing through it. Got to swing through it, big man.
Yeah, he leans back a bit. Whenever he
It's
leans
not
backwards,
that.
it goes
It's
to...
not that. He literally kicks across the ball.
Okay.
He kicks across the ball. I like, because in where I was sitting and some of the shots he was having, I could see it. I could see it. He kicks across the ball. He doesn't kick through the ball, and so it's just the same as if you're a slicer in golf, they just go high and to the right, and that's where he misses them all the time. Little
Yeah, he always goes to the right.
fluffy little slices. So he's got to point his toe at the target, kick through the ball. Basic stuff.
Is that you gonna? I think that there might be. Is there a video incoming, mate? That's a demonstration for us. Or?
Yeah, you only have to watch my one and only. Even I could have kicked that to see a beautiful kicking technique, mate. That's all. I don't need to flood the internet with it.
I was impressed by those 2 goals from 50.
They're beautiful, and that's because he was
yeah.
forced to kick through the ball to get the distance.
Often the case, isn't it? Now, look, I think Sleep Dizzle says, anyone noticed the Spork site Q smiling as he's taking a set shot? I noticed that too, only on the replay because, of course, I don't have bloody eagle vision. But yeah, I noticed that watching it back that he's doing this thing where he smiles before he takes a shot.
Yeah,
so clearly that's preordained to relax him in some way, and so he doesn't overly, get too, focused and negative energy and all that. So that's an interesting observation. But yeah, I love this game. Now, obviously, clearly you got to take into account the lack of Sam Taylor because that's the obvious matchup for Filthy. But right from the outset, he was gloving it really clean. He was moving really well, both on the deck, across around the grounds. He ran out of it once or twice, but apart from that, I thought his judgment was a lot better. And some of his follow-up work, there was one moment at centre forward where he kicked it to Sligo, and Sligo it was spoiled, and he just followed it up and then gathered it and then dished it off. I think that was the left foot Rankin goal.
Yes, it was.
And it was just like Filthy just did it all himself, and
it's almost like as soon as the ball comes to ground, he just switches mode. He's so good at ground level.
Very, very similar to Jackson at Freo. He's even a bit more classy than Jackson. Doesn't have as much dog in him, but like similar ability to just pick up the ball clean as a whistle like a midfielder.
Yeah,
and he was great. I really liked. I thought he was just so clean and invested in the game. So he was one of those ones I was referring to in terms of hopefully a big confidence booster. Going to the finals, because that was a very good all-round game from Filthy.
Yeah, he was jumping to meet the ball. As you said, he didn't really run under the ball too much, which is a good sign. I like the amount of ruck time he had as well. How many hit out? It's not that he had a huge amount of hit outs. He only had 3 hit outs, but from 18 ruck contests. But he just being in there and just like rucking, I think, is a good thing. And he was a little bit outsized actually by their second ruck, height wise, but it allows him then to be around the ball in general play. And I like the fact that was the other thing that I thought the Crows coaching staff get a big tick for, and that is giving Thilthorpe a fair amount of time in the ruck.
Agreed.
Who else did we have that I should mention? Well, obviously we've got to talk about Tex because, irrespective of the fact that it was his last home and away game, he had a pretty bloody good game. He had a fair amount of influence, particularly early, to get us going, but played out the game pretty well. What did he have? He had 11 kicks, 2 handballs. Didn't get up the ground too much, but didn't really have to. 7 contested possessions, 4 marks. I thought he took more than that actually, and obviously kicked the 6 goals. So just a vintage Tex performance on his night, and really a 10-score involvements overall too. And he's not a spent force in finals with Thilthorpe and now Fogarty, who I thought worked into the game really well as the game wore on. We're back to having that triple threat, and this is where the ball movement comes into it, because it's that last possession going into forward 50 that is such a problem for us. But when we move the ball relatively smoothly and quickly into the forward 50 and we get that separation, I don't know whether you noticed, big man, but we had a fair bit of space again in our forward lines quite often, and that was just down to getting the ball in without taking 300 years to bloody get it from one end of the ground to the other.
Yeah, Tex thrives on two things. It's either, obviously getting that separation on the lead or one-on-one contests. There was a few moments, and particularly against opponents where he's outsizing them. There was a classic example where Fogg got the ball at centre forward and quickly wheeled around, spotted Tex against Whitfield
on the left.
On the left. So that's just that sort of speed that really works in Tex's favour. But I mean, some of those marks he took were great. Just vice grip hands.
Yeah.
You watch a game like last night. I know you think to yourself, "Oh shit, has he made the right call?" Because he was so good. But this tends to happen once you announce your retirement and the end's near. You get that extra burst of energy and what's the word? I wouldn't call it motivation, but there's just something extra that comes with that.
Bit of mojo.
And wanting to not leave anything out there and just love your footy. And I think we've seen what happens when players go one year too many. So if Tex thinks he's done, you're done. Yeah. So but it's we're going to miss him. He's just watching him again. Like, I know it was a high-scoring game and the Giants struggled to defend. Poor Himmelberg was pretty frustrated all night. He was a bit down.
He got flogged by he got flogged by Darcy.
Yeah, he couldn't do anything right, unfortunately. But
no,
him and Tex and Fogg were just clunking some really nice marks, and Tex gets another week off now, so he should be cherry ripe for the first final, provided we don't do a hamstring at training, which tends to be the case, unfortunately.
Now, I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but there are a couple of worries, I think. First of all, Zachy Taylor, so unfortunate for the kid. He's had such a good season this year in a very difficult role, and just an innocuous ping of the hamstring. I don't know whether we've heard... Have we received a report from the Crows about the extent of it? I'm not sure whether they've put out anything as yet.
I haven't seen one.
No, haven't put anything out. But it didn't look horrific, but it looked enough that it could be a 2 or 3 weeker, which is really bad news for him.
Yeah, it's not like Hinges or Cheese from earlier in the year where they basically need assistance off the ground. This I was watching it and he did like a repeat, like 2 or 3 chase effort, and then I don't know if he did it then or 30 seconds later he took a mark in the corridor, and it was like a slightly crouching motion where he took the mark
and then he just moved off to give a handball.
And that's when you could see him just at the edge of the frame, just touch his hamstring. So I don't know if he did it before that and then noticed it, or that's when he did it exactly, but nothing in it. But a hamstring's a hamstring. That's typically 3 weeks. So he's going to miss the first final for sure. And it'll be a race against time for the next final, provided we actually, make a semi. It's a real shame because, he's done a lot right. He's played that sort of a no man's land half forward role where he's supposed to be getting involved up the ground and providing entries inside forward 50, but he's also got to put pressure on and guard a halfback flanker. He's typically the guy they go to limit the run off halfback of the opposition's best defender. So it's a thankless role, and he's for a guy who's grown up winning best and fairest every year for Oak Park as a midfielder. Um, it's a change, a big change for him, but I think he's adapted pretty well, and we're seeing more and more of what he can bring. And he started quite well as well on Saturday night, so it's a real shame for him. But I mean, I suppose it makes the Archie, who comes out for Archie decision a lot easier. It's basically been made for
Yeah,
them.
which doesn't make it any better because there were a couple of players who, despite Zachy Taylor coming off at half time, still had lower ratings than Taylor, and one of them was Isaac Cumming, who was playing in a really weird role. At times he was forward, like sometimes on the wing. It was a very weird role, but he only had a .8 play rating for the game, Isaac Cumming. And for a player of his calibre, who we were quite happy to bring over from GWS, he only had 8 touches, 7 kicks and a handball from 75% time on ground. And Isaac's got to work out how to get himself more involved in the game, because that's, for a player with his attributes, that's not nearly enough.
No, that's definitely fair. I mean, he's on a long contract on a fair amount of money, and yes, he's not playing his Potsman role. I'm a bit disappointed that we're not playing him more in defence, given that when he's played back there, he's usually looked pretty good. This hybrid role he's playing, he seems to be out of position a lot and not being able to get involved. Maybe there's some stuff he's doing, that in terms of covering space or whatever, the old non-statistical. But when he does get it, he's not having much of an impact either. He's not really producing much in terms of scores or anything. I know he kicked that goal and that's great, but apart from that, he really had no influence on the game. So he's not intercepting or providing scoreboard impact.
Yeah, my apologies. He had 66% time on ground.
Yeah, well, no, he was. Oh, I mean, he was managed a lot in that last quarter. I think he had the last 20 minutes off almost, or something, 15, 20 minutes off. So they're playing it pretty cool with him. Obviously, he's got a big history of soft tissue injuries. So
and still, it wasn't his worst quarter. His third quarter, he had a minus 1.8 play rating.
Well, the thing is, he's doing basically what Braden Cook used to do, where Cookie just used to disappear off the face of the earth, after a quarter or so. But the difference is that Cummings, 28, 27, 28, with 100 plus games behind him. I know he's not his natural position, but you're right. He's got to find a way to get more involved, because at the moment he's a passenger.
He is, and it's not what we paid for. Like, if you want to be completely, economic about it, it's just not what we paid for. And
no.
We need more from him.
Yeah.
We just need more from him.
We do, and clearly not playing the role that he was recruited at from the Giants. But if you're a good footballer, you find ways to get involved. Look at Milk; he's not a small defensive forward, but he's found ways to have an impact. So there shouldn't be anything stopping Isaac, and Isaac's clearly got the skill set and the athleticism to do it. So he's just got to find a way. And I rated the acquisition. I was really happy to get him, because I did really like him at the Giants, and I thought that's just a smart decision. But he's got to deliver on his end.
Yep. The other worry, and these two are interchangeable in my opinion, Max Michelani, really didn't have a huge influence on the game until the game was pretty much done. He only had 14 touches in the end, 10 and 4, only 264 metres gained from back there. I think the configuration's all wrong, and I would really like to see Max Michelani in Rory Laird's role, and Isaac Cumming in Max Michelani's role, and Rory Laird in Matty Wright's role.
He played on Toby, didn't he? Quite a bit. And I don't think Toby had a particularly influential game. He's a bit inaccurate, to be fair.
Yeah, He always played on Toby. Toby didn't have the right boots on.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Well, that's a pretty bad start, isn't it? That reminded me when was it Lockie Murphy who forgot his mouth guard?
Oh yeah, and
About he got his teeth knocked in like first quarter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's like you just wonder how that stuff happens. That would have been an awful feeling for Toby, but yeah, it didn't help him to get 1-3 or whatever it was. So, but no, you're right. I think the issue with Max right now is that from an offensive point of view, if he's not going to be a great kick, and his kicking's definitely dropped off. He's never been a really good kick, but he's definitely dropped off, and he knows that, and he's become a bit more conservative with his ball use now because he doesn't want to make critical mistakes. But if he's not going to provide that, then he's got to provide a lot of dash and run and meterage by legs, and take space. And he's not really doing a whole lot of that either. You'll see it once or twice a game, but he's not. It's just not enough. And we know he's got the speed and the dash to do it. So he's got to get more involved, and that's partly on the coaching as well to find ways to get him involved. Because I think he's stuck between two minds of I've got to defend versus I've got to attack.
Well, I remember when I was doing the centre bounce analysis at the beginning of the season, and one of the signatures was Max coming off halfback at centre bounces and providing some run through the corridor, coming off the back of the stoppage, and it was him and Hinge were doing it as well as Miller, and I just thought, yeah, that's his role. He's a running halfback flanker. But he's just, I don't think he's a lockdown player, and I think this is probably the problem that we're going to face going forward, is that we have still shoehorned a few blokes into roles that I don't think they're terribly suited for, and I think everyone's looked at Max and thought, he's the reincarnation of Ben Hart, but I don't think he's the same kind of player at all. I think he's a running halfback flanker, and we probably don't have a spot for him. Certainly not in current form.
He's a running half-back flanker, but who can actually defend really well when he's, playing good footy. And he's dropped off defensively this year, but he's not been a liability, I don't think, in that regard, compared to Worrell.
He's often been asked to play tall. That's the problem.
Yeah, no, he's better against the smalls or the medium, like the small to mediums, like a Toby Green. Toby plays tall for his height, but that suits Max as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just been one of those years. I think that they just persist with him because they know that going forward, he's going to be a part of our best team. I think it's a combination of things. His preparation in terms of that knee, and also clearly not playing as good a football as last year. And I don't think our game style has suited him.
No,
I think if I were to adjust our thing, I think if there's more of a handball game and dashing to the corridor game, I think he's one of the prime guys to benefit from that. Yeah. But there's probably a question to be asked whether we need to invest in a small defender that can just lock down those guys and allow Max to be released more. But he's got to improve his ball use as well. Like his kicking is very average.
His ball use rating on Willow was the worst of anyone in our side, and that's a side that includes Rory Laird. So when you're worse than Rory Laird, you've got to have a good long hard look at yourself, and that's not to give Lairdy an uppercut, but come on, -2. What was it? -2 meters gained.
Yeah,
from -2 meters gained from 23 disposals.
Is that a record?
I'd have to be close.
That's amazing, isn't it? When you think about it. I mean, meters gained is a funny metric. It's not everything, because a lot of players just blast the ball. They get high meters gained, but it comes back every time. But Lairdy, look, I like the fact he put his body in the line on a couple of occasions, and
he didn't play terribly at all. No. But it gives us absolutely nothing. That's the problem. Going back the other way.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's my boy, but Milks nearly put him to hospital with that bloody kick at the corridor.
Yeah, just
he wore it. But Gee whiz. But yeah, it's a funny old thing because, that stat's just terrible, no matter which way you look at it. But I actually thought he was okay. But, at his age and what he's got to provide, compared to the others who can't get a spot in the team, Ryan, even a Mitch Hinge, you just it feels like we've got nothing to gain by keeping him in the team. But they got clearly the Knicks is a big fan of Lairdy, their history going back, but that shouldn't sway these sort of decisions.
Mm.
I'd be curious to know what Lairdy's doing in their eyes that justifies picking him week after week. And I'm not saying he played badly. I'm just saying that I'm not sure what his role is because he's not. He was okay defensively, but he's not going to be a real defensive beast. He's not Max in that regard when Max is up and about.
Mm.
And he doesn't provide the run and carry over Miller or Hul Kahan. So I'm not sure what he is actually for us.
Well, and only 7 kicks for a small defender. I mean, you're talking about someone who's the equivalent role in another side is someone like Dane Zorko, who's a prime mover coming out of the back lines at Brisbane. That's really what Lairdy should be trying to be for us as that defensive half general. Because we really lack one. It's all down to Wayne Miller and to a lesser degree Hugo Hall-Khan, who's been with us for 5 minutes. Lairdy's done 300 games and he was an All-Australian defender. I mean, and I remember when he first came on the scene, he was able to spot up those forward diagonal kicks really, really well. But for whatever reason, and I watched him closely, and there were plenty of times when he had the option and he just refuses to pull the trigger. He is so gun-shy when it comes to possibly turning the ball over that he will always defer to the lateral ball movement. And it's not constructive, it's not putting someone into space, it's just getting rid of the ball out of his hands. That's all he's doing with his disposal. It lacks any sort of creativity whatsoever.
Do you think it's partly because he knows he's developed a reputation, he knows that the criticism laid on him, and he doesn't want to turn the ball, he's so scared to turn the ball over to sort of, give them people a reason to shit on him? If
he's listening to that sort of crap, then he's too thin-skinned to be playing. Right? He's a 300-game player almost. He's got tons of experience. He shouldn't be that precious that he's worried about what Joe in the stands says or Big Man in the podcast says. He should be looking at his tapes on Monday and going, all right, how can I be better? And one of the things that he could do is actually take that diagonal kick that he rarely ever does. Rarely. Yeah, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, and you're right. He used to be more proactive. Quick
100%.
Kicks as soon as he got it. You only have to look at Mark Keane. Keane can stuff it up sometimes, but look, whenever he gets the ball, he just searches for an option straight away, and if he sees one, then it's short, and he'll take it, and he trusts his boot to hit it. Even if it's in the corridor. Laird's got to. Yep. That's what Laird needs to be doing. He's not the guy that's going to provide run and carry and massive dash or long kick, 60-meter, but booming kicks like some of the other players. He needs to be that guy that goes bang, spot up kick, instead of going back, waiting, that little jog back he does, then back sideways. It does nothing. It's the only good thing it would be good for is working down the clock in a close game.
Yeah,
but and there was a couple of times I've seen him. And there was one where he, I never seen him move so fast. He was trying to get a receive from Braden Cook on the wing. And I was like, Lairdy, there's no need for you to do that because Cook is the one you want moving, running with the ball
exactly
inside 50.
Yeah.
You don't need that ball. So, I'm glad he's trying to get involved, but at the same time, when he does get the ball, he's not, for mine, he's not doing the things we need him to be doing it, in terms of what his skill set is.
Well, the other thing he doesn't do, he has not adapted to the stand rule at all because he doesn't take advantage of the fact that the player's got to stand. He will go back behind his mark and he'll look, and he puts himself to a disadvantage because he's not a tall man. I went to a client's house on Friday and there was a garden gnome in the garden. I said, oh, look, there's Rory Laird. And it was about the same height. So he's got to kick over the man. He doesn't use that stand rule to get around that first player, to give himself a little bit of time and a better trajectory on the ball. So he hasn't adapted his game at all. And it just makes me wonder, when a player and a coach sit down on a Monday and watch that week after week, because they would isolate his disposals and isolate his highlights and areas to work on, and week after week, it would be like he's watching a rerun, because it's the same all the time. Now, at what point does the coach say, if we sit down next week with this tape, it'll be your last game because we can't tolerate it?
Yep.
So,
anyway, we've discussed this at nauseam.
At length, yeah.
Nothing really changes. And not to shit on Lady, because I actually, as I said, the minus meters gain is both funny and horrendous. But he actually didn't play woeful footy. He played
didn't have a terrible game.
It's not enough. That's what we
get. Yeah, no, that's right. As a small defender, we've got to get more from him. We've got to get more overlap run. We've got to get more decisive disposal. And I fear it's not going to happen with Rory, because he's just so entrenched in his game. And the only thing that's going to change it is a change of personnel. And I don't think the coaches are prepared to pull the trigger.
Not this year,
think
anyway.
It's been not this year, and I think it's been to Max Michaelani's detriment. Obviously, Oscar Ryan's detriment. And I think it unbalances our defence. Anyway, Sam Berry had a bit of a game. Struggled at times to. He looks like he's lost a yard, and I wonder whether the rumours of that foot injury are true. Big man, because he just seems to have lost that explosive first 3 steps that he had earlier in the season.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually thought he was quite good. So I'm you're usually the Berry man. So
and you know what they say: don't pay the Berry man, don't even fix a price.
Gee whiz. All right, moving on. But
yes,
yeah. Look,
that was amazing.
But I thought he was actually a bit cleaner, a bit more, obviously productive in terms of just finding the pill. But yeah, I didn't mind his game. Still got caught once or twice, and yeah, maybe he's not moving quite as well as he did earlier. But I definitely thought it was a step forward compared to that.
It was pretty much one out with
against Freo.
Yeah, it was pretty much one out with Oliver, and I thought Oliver just shaded him. They both had similar numbers. I felt like Oliver had a bit more impact on the game when the game was still live, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I thought Oliver would have a bigger game than he did, as well. I think probably the one issue I had with Sam's game is just if he's kicking, just there's no hurt factor in it.
No,
there's a couple of kicks where he turned it over, and yeah, I just wasn't impressed by his ball use. But I liked most other aspects of his game. I thought he was okay. So he's a watch, but there was a couple of other boys where I was a bit more disappointed in their output.
oh, yeah, I just saw at times Oliver running away from Berry, and I thought, geez, Sam's normally got a bit more of a yard of pace, particularly his burst speed. So I wonder whether there is a lingering issue there that's just impacting him in that regard. But it wasn't a terrible game by any stretch. He had, decent numbers. 10 contested possessions, 9 ground ball gets. What else did he have? I'm reading off Wheelo, and the orders
what
all
was his
different to what I'm used to. Clearances. He had, where are you, Samuel?
That's his main metric.
Yeah, 5 clearances. 5 clearances. Where's his tackle count? 7 tackles, 20 pressure rate. Yeah. So he's still around it. And see, that's what happens with Sam when he's off the pace. He'll go defensive mode, and you get a bit of value of him out of that. We just need a little bit more offensive output, and I'm not sure whether physically he's actually capable at the moment, to be honest.
Well, they gave him a lot of opportunity. Like he had a lot of time in the centre.
Mm.
He was the most bounces or throw ups. So yeah, I know you want more. It was just his inside 50s I didn't like more than anything, but it'd be curious to see if that week off does anything for him. I think with that sort of issue, it might be one that just doesn't get fixed until the off season. I'm not quite
Possibly.
sure how plantar, if it is plantar fasciitis, then that can't be fun to play with, and I don't know how long that sort of takes to heal itself, or if it needs
Well,
surgery or anything like that. So
only heals with rest, pretty much.
we've got an issue though with our rotations. If we don't play Berry and obviously Peatling's out, then we don't have much in reserve. There's Sid Draper, but the club clearly doesn't want to go down that route this season. So it does mean more time for Dan Curtin, but yeah, it's really just those four at the moment.
Yeah,
so,
young
and we don't want to
young
play,
lad called Rochelle might get around.
Can he play midfield? Have we talked about that?
I think I think once he did.
Look, he got a grand total of 2 centre bounce attendances, mate. So I thought you'd be happy with that.
Yeah, well, it's 2 more than I expected.
He was okay. He's marking. He kept dropping marks.
I know, it's that bloody mouth guard.
It's the mouth guard. I'm telling you, it is the mouth guard. His second half was good, but Joey Fonte was dominating him in the first half.
Yeah,
he was sucking it up a bit too,
running off him.
Yeah. So that wasn't great, but at least he redeemed himself. But I wish he was hit. Like you look at how Rankin and Thilthorpe, based on Saturday night, and Dawson and a couple of others, Fogg, hitting the finals with some momentum. He's hit a bit of a wall. He's not playing badly. Like he's getting his 2 goals and a few involvements and stuff, but he just looks a bit down on confidence. And obviously the mouth guard's a big factor in that. But just in general, I think he just looks a bit. It's not. Blind Freddie can see he's a bit off his game compared to the first couple of months.
Yeah. Can confirm, by the way, that the Hawks got up quite comfortably in the end, 62 points, and that means that they move into 4th spot, Geelong into 5th, and Adelaide 6th. So, as we mentioned at the top of the show, we avoided the wild card. It'll be Melbourne v Carlton and Bulldogs v Collingwood, and we will play the the highest ranked winner out of those 2 games, which is a little bit hard to. Let me just see if I can put this up on the screen. 1 moment, please. There we go. So I'll put this up on screen. So it'll be like Melbourne. Oh, they haven't put the venues or the times up yet. But Melbourne v Carlton, Western Bulldogs v Collingwood. Obviously, we'll play the highest ranked wild card winner. Geelong will play the lowest ranked wild card winner. Fremantle will play Brisbane in a qualifying final, and Hawthorn will play Sydney in the other qualifying final. Now, I did a bit of a predictor.
Oh, boy.
Well, we're actually in a decent part of the draw. I'll just put my predictions up here as we go along. Assuming I think we'll get Melbourne. I think Melbourne will beat Carlton, and I think the Bulldogs will beat Collingwood.
I think Melbourne might be done. Their tolls are just dropping like flies, whereas Carlton are just going gangbusters.
Either
we
way,
can't
though,
play Carlton.
No, we'll either play Carlton. We'll play Melbourne Bulldogs or Collingwood. But what it does do is put us on the same side of the draw as Sydney, which means that if we get through our elimination final, we get to a semi against Sydney, and you'd have to think that of the teams above us, Fremantle, Hawthorn, Brisbane and Geelong, Sydney is the team that you'd want to get in a knockout semi-final. So there is definitely a pathway.
Based purely on personnel and also the fact that we have a reasonable record against them at SCG as well.
Good record against them. They'll be light on. I think they'll be emotionally gassed. They'll probably have an emotional game against Hawthorn in the qualifying final. I think that'll take a lot out of them.
Brisbane. They play Brisbane.
No, they don't.
Sydney, they host Brisbane.
They don't.
I'm almost certain. Can people back me up?
Well, I've got it on the ladder predictor right here.
It should be Sydney versus Brisbane, second versus third.
Well, then the ladder predictor's wrong.
Yeah, that's weird. I'm pretty much certain they're hosting Brisbane.
You are
that's
right.
Why Brisbane.
Yeah, you are right, because Hawthorn are fourth. So it has to be Freo, Hawthorn, Sydney, Brisbane. I wonder what the predictor's doing.
I think they actually had we'll have to wait and see how they go against Brisbane, but they may have had that emotional game today against North. They were bloody crying and stuff after the game. Yeah, they were very emotional after the game. So, that might sustain itself. Yeah, that might sustain itself for another game or two. But, they're sort of the beware the wounded dog, sort of at the moment. But,
there
are
some wounds
so much. I think
some wounds that are a bit insurmountable, I reckon.
Yeah, and Errol Gordon's a stud, but you lose Heaney and Warner, it just sets you back so much.
Yeah. Yeah, so, there's a real opportunity for us to make a preliminary final, and I guess it begs the question, mate, of, what do we think is a reasonable outcome? Because, a month ago we were thinking top four. Last week we were thinking wild card, and here we are sort of smack in the middle. And I don't know, it's a bit hard to sort of get a read. I still think, personally, that a preliminary final would be a successful season. Anything, a semi-final would be a pass, and going out in the first week would be a fail.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's an argument to be made that once you're in the finals, if you don't win a grand final, then everything's a failure because, it's so hard to get an opportunity.
It is to an extent because everyone's in it to win it.
I think, realistically though, you have to sit back and think, okay, well, where do we sit in the scheme of things? And we all know we're not as good as Freo and Brisbane. Just how it is. But if we can win a one or two finals, I think that's probably going forward. That's a real confidence booster to get that taste of final success and know you're actually not hopeless under expectation and pressure. So for me, it's more about what can we do with the finals this year to propel us into hopefully greater things in the next 1 or 2 years. If we were to get knocked out in the first final, that could do serious damage to our psyche. I know Brisbane lost a lot of finals in their first few times around before they started winning the flags, but I just wonder if this club has that sort of resilience to bounce back if we stumble again.
I think the danger is that if Collingwood get over the Bulldogs, then that will be our elimination final, albeit at home. But if we were to lose to Collingwood again in a final at home, that really would be a massive monkey on our backs for a long time. I think Collingwood and Hawthorn are the two, to a lesser degree Geelong, that we really have this mental thing against. Collingwood just know how to play us. And McRae just knows how to coach against Nicks. And I just feel like for 2 weeks in a row, we're going to be barracking pretty hard for Western Bulldogs next week to get over Collingwood, because I think out of those 4 teams, and obviously we can't play Carlton, but out of Western Bulldogs, Collingwood, and Melbourne, for us, Collingwood is the team that we don't want to play. Not that there should be any team that we don't want to play, but that, if we had to pick, they'd be last pick.
And it's a real shame that that's still a thing, isn't it? Like, because as good as Collingwood have been this year, they're still quite vulnerable.
Definitely.
We know they rely a lot on the Dacos brothers and a couple of others, but they're playing a lot of kids at the moment. They've got some injuries. They're not a terrific outfit. They're just really well coached, and they fight games out pretty well. I know Brisbane got a hold of them on Friday, but they're just they're in our heads. I think pure and simple. I still can't believe we beat them in round 1, but I think that was more because round 1 just throws up weird things.
Yeah,
different
round
clubs
one
are
is
different preparation.
Yeah.
It's almost like a glorified preseason game in some ways.
Yeah, it is.
And they have absolutely no fear of playing us here. Like, they love it. I think they embrace it. So we don't really have that advantage either. So yeah, I mean, it's the best opportunity to get that monkey off the back, to beat Collingwood in a final. But I don't know if we've ever even done that, have we? Beaten Collingwood in a final? History?
We've had some heartbreakers.
We sure have. I can remember those.
Right in front of me.
Yeah, I was at that game. That was fun. I mean, look, it's thinking a fair way ahead. If Bulldogs beat Carlton, then if Bulldogs beat Collingwood, then they might be someone to fear. Even though we got a hold of them at Marvel this year, you can't underestimate any team. They're in the finals for a reason.
No, I think out of all the teams, Bulldogs is the team that I'd want to play. They're pretty banged up.
Oh yeah, I think from a personnel point of view, they're the least scary.
They lost
and then you got Carlton, who. Well, Bevo said he might be okay next week, but he's not going. He might be a bit sore. Carlton's the scariest, so it's kind of nice to know we can't play them. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who we're up against. But look, at least the boys managed to get into this spot. Clearly a few weeks ago we would have liked better than 6th, but the way things worked out, it actually ended up being an okay job for the boys to actually get that spot, because it was really looking like 7th for a while there.
Yeah, I mean, let's not shy away from the fact that two costly losses cost us any chance of top 4. Winning one of those and we're top 4, and considering one of those was Port Adelaide, it's really disappointing. We were lucky, and that's fine, because we don't get a lot of luck. And to win a grand final and a premiership, you need a bit of luck. And maybe that is our luck, But I think it's wide open to get to a prelim. And I think in any season, I think a prelim is a pretty good effort, because then it comes down to the better team on the day in a preliminary final. And those finals throw up some pretty strange results at times too. So I think that should be any team's initial aim. If you make the finals, your first aim is to get to a prelim, and then you regroup from there. So week 1 potentially the most challenging.
And another thing just to highlight is that with this new system, if you're playing a wild card, you don't get that week off. So we'll be playing a team that's coming off a game. Correct. Whereas we get the extra week break. So even that factor in, it just makes it all the more important that we get that bloody first win. Because it's gonna hurt us a lot, not just reputation wise, but our own psychological side of things. You just quickly talk about luck. I agree. We did. I think we deserve some luck. Like, you don't have to go far as back as the 2008 game, Essendon versus St Kilda, where we needed bloody Essendon to not lose by more than 80 points, and they couldn't even do that.
Yeah.
And there's another one. I think it was 2016. We created our own problem by losing that last round game against West Coast.
We've done that a few times.
Yeah, but we still could have finished fourth if Collingwood beat Hawthorn and fucking Jack Fitzpatrick kicked a goal from the bloody centre square or something in
Yes.
the last few minutes to,
Jack
to
who?
to win the game for Hawthorn. I know exactly.
Never to be heard from
Jack
again.
Jack bloody dinner plates for hands. Fitzpatrick. Yeah. So we it's amazing those sort of things that go against us. So I'm glad we got a little bit of luck, even though it's only for sixth, but better than seventh.
Definitely. Now, a couple of things. First of all, Matthew Nicks obviously has a bit riding on this final series, and it was brought up to him during the week in a interview, and I don't know whether you caught that. His response was such that it suggested that he is under a bit of pressure, and I wouldn't mind betting there was some internal KPIs that he needed to meet in order to withstand that pressure. And it was looking after the Fremantle game like he wasn't going to make those KPIs, because I reckon the first one would have been make the top six.
Oh, who knows? Who knows what they are? But it's interesting that he acknowledged that he's under pressure, and there is scuttlebutt. You know that when you got a few guys in the media, even though Sam McClure was a flog, it was interesting to hear him bring it up. And he's not the first. I recall. Oh, I can't remember exactly, but there was another journo that was talking about it earlier in the year that Nick's may be under some.
Is it Braden
You
Ingram?
think it was Ingram?
Maybe.
I know there was a few guys talking about it, and that hasn't really been the case with Nick's year. He's usually gone under the radar a fair bit in terms of media scrutiny. Much. So it's interesting that it's finally started bubbling.
Well, it's in the mainstream now. Lee Montagna, even David King, who's been, Matthew Nicks' number one fan in the media, has been questioning it. Obviously, Kane Corns is right on the bandwagon. A couple of print media types and on radio. So who was it? Someone on SEN. I can't remember. But anyway, Simo. Simo's been a little bit scathing. Andrew Simpson. Of our, not so much Nicks in particular, but our game style. So I reckon making the top six would have been the first box ticked, but I really do wish, or I hope, that the next KPI is making a prelim. Well, I would say that the next KPI is probably winning a final, and then the third KPI would be making a prelim. So he's 1 from 3 at the moment.
The flip side is I don't like McClure suggesting bloody Simon Goodwin. I hope that's just his opinion and there's nothing more to it, because
that's just lazy
I
journalism.
couldn't think of. Yeah, I would hope so. I couldn't think of anyone I would want less. I'd rather just keep Nicks than go Goodwin.
Yeah, McClure's just plucking the name that's most likely. Goodwin and Rue are good mates. So Sam McClure probably doesn't even realise that Rashudo's not part of the club anymore.
Probably.
So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But I think he's probably heard a whisper. And look, to be honest with you, I think Kane and Sam handle a fair bit of information between each other, depending on who they think it'd be better coming from. And I wouldn't mind betting that Kane has given a little flick pass to Sam on that one.
Let's hope so. Yeah, Goody was a great player for us, but as a coach, I just don't want him. And and then you get the bloody Sydney thing in. It's not a good fit.
Well, all that aside, I think the feedback coming out of Melbourne is that they've really relished the more attacking game style, and they got a bit sick of the dour negative approach that admittedly won them a flag.
Yeah.
But so Goodwin obviously comes from the Paul Roos school of you build attack from a solid defence. And that's kind of what we've been going through for 7 years, and I don't know whether the players would respond too well to it if we got the same thing from a different voice. A lot of them, I think, would consider careers in other sports if they had to keep playing footy that way.
Yeah, and look, and coaches can change their game styles, but he was such an
Mm,
emphasis on for good when it was on contest,
mm,
and that's
yeah,
great when you got Clayton Oliver, Jack Viney, Max Gawn, and even Christian Petrarca at his peak. We don't have those sort of players, and so it wouldn't fit us. Um, we struggle enough as bloody clearances as it is.
yeah,
So yeah, and then you got the other aspects where I just don't think it would be the right voice for our boys.
yeah. And
Not that we,
I don't,
I don't think we need to
don't really
worry about
want
it though.
No, I don't.
I, I
I don't think it's him. I don't think it would be him.
yeah. Just another player I'd want to bring up because I know it's another negative, but I what do we do with Jake Saliga?
Well, yeah. I think it'll be out of James Peatling and Jake Saligo for a spot. And I think not that James Peatling has been knocking the lights out this year, but I think I probably trust him a little bit more than Jake. Jake's clearly hampered by being underdone, and I don't think he's been able to regain that fitness to any great degree. At times he looks like he's running on bloody in mud. I have a lot of time for Solly. I really like him as a player, and I'd be prepared to give him another pre-season to see if he can get up to peak fitness. Because I think a fully fit Jake Saligo is an asset. But I don't know whether we can carry a zero output or very minimal output into a final series. And, Solly didn't have a lot of the ball for someone who had, 81% time on ground. What do you have in terms of numbers? He only had 11 touches, but only 2 kicks. And what that indicates to me is that he hasn't got any power to get any separation, big man. So all he's got is handballs because he can't get clear to get a good kick away.
Yeah, it's
Only
frustrating
74
because
metres gained.
yeah, and he's just got a case of the jelly legs. He's got no power or anything in his game. He's waiting and treacle when he gets it.
Yeah,
There's no ability to sort of accelerate, and he's losing his feet now too. He's going to
yeah.
ground too much, so
Which
which is
is
usually
another
the case
indicator usually.
when you're slow and tired, you go to ground. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, this is a tough one because we all like Solly, and I think I agree. I think if he can have a really good summer and get rock hard fit, which I don't think he is at the moment, I think it's going to do so much for his just his ability to not only find the ball but to actually get separation, get space, and play with some freedom. Everything's all in contest for him at the moment.
Well,
Um,
and frankly, depending on the kind of role that we want him to play, we've got a couple of blokes in the twos who will probably give us more. Charlie Edwards and Billy Dowling would give us more value at the moment than Jake Saligo. Both played all right against Sturt on the weekend, as did Mitch Hinge, who I also want to talk to you about. To be honest with you, I'd probably like Charlie Edwards actually looked pretty good against Sturt. Sturt had no slouches. And we didn't have a great game, but Charlie looked all right. And I'd like if they're looking for a bloke who can come in and play second rotation midfield and be a little bit versatile, then Charlie's the guy. If they're looking for an outside player that can play a bit of wing and half forward, maybe Billy Dowling's the guy. Particularly if James is still carrying a bit of that hip. So yeah, I don't know about Solly for the finals. It was in a game that was pretty free flowing. He just didn't seem to be only getting clear possession at all.
yeah, no, it was stark how much he was struggling with the pace of the game.
Yeah,
So he's a real worry, and this is not to shit on him because I actually really rate him. I think he's going to be a really good player for us, potentially if he can get fit. Clearly, he's had a terrible year overall. But just when we think he's coming good, he just puts in performances like that. And I mean, Peatling's a worry too with that hip flexor. Clearly, he's not right. He's actually listed as TBC, which makes me think that maybe it's
bit more
it's
to
not
it.
great. Yeah. So then you got Dowling, and would I rather Sligo or Dowling? I mean, well, Dowling's the one that's in form. I prefer Saligo
Downing,
as a player,
yeah,
but
yeah.
the Saligo we get right now is not the Saligo we want. So
Well,
that's a tricky one.
the Jake that we're getting now isn't going to give us as much as Billy Dowling. And
No,
I sat and watched the game against Sturt on Saturday, and as I said, both he and Charlie looked pretty decent.
yeah, and Ludo was good again. So that's good.
Yeah, where do you put him though? You can't put him in yet.
No. But if we do lose a forward to something in this bloody 1 week break, then please put him instead of Ibis.
Oh God,
If you need it all, just
well, see, this is the thing. Like we're talking about playing Collingwood in the first week of the main finals, and there's Matthew Nix has got a very particular way of wanting to play against Collingwood, and it does involve 338 tools. So yeah, Mitch Marsh, Dylan asked in the chat. Look, he doesn't look quite ready to me yet. He needs another preseason, I think. Going to be something. I really, really like him. And he looks like he's grown a little bit taller. Big man, I don't know what you think about that.
no. Well, I mean, half the Sturt team are bloody midgets, or sorry, vertically challenged. So,
Wow.
you know,
Wow.
but no, look, he's just got to find more of his own ball and get stronger and bigger. But he's been pretty consistent since a very slow start to the year, and he's playing that wing role almost predominantly now, like full time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's still finding his way, but he's a great ball user and decision maker. And if he can just build up his aerial game a bit more and become a threat in the air, then they'll go a long way. And we've seen Cook sort of take one wing spot, but there's another one up for grabs. With Curtin moving into the midfield. I mean, I love Nankervis, but I like him in defence as well. With Cumming, we don't know what we're going to, his future, we don't know exactly where he's going to play. There is a spot for a Marsh, not this year, but in a year or two. So,
yeah,
he's fine, but yeah, not for now. Now I'm going to, this is the one player I'm going to pump up here.
All right.
And you shat on him earlier, so I was surprised.
Okay.
Because if you didn't like his game last night, then you're never going to like any game he plays.
Right.
And that was Ben Keys.
Nah,
I thought Keysy was good. You didn't like his game.
Nah, shit.
See, I don't know. I can't agree with that. I thought he was good.
Oh, don't take me seriously, big man. God. No, he played all right. He he gave us what we always get from Ben Keys, but he was probably more effective than he's been and more involved than he's been for the last 6 weeks, which was good.
I just thought
25
he was a bit more,
disposals.
liked his ball use more. He was really clean on the deck. He pushed up the ground and had some nice gives when, others might have fumbled. Still, his kicking was pretty good apart from that awful shot at goal. It was one of the worst you'll see.
He burnt Tex once.
and-
Oh my lord!
that was a tricky one where he didn't want to stuff it up, so you might as well just make a thing of it yourself. I know I could see where he should have given it, but Keys isn't exactly Mr. Slick, is he? He's capable of stuffing those sort of things up. So rather than just back himself in, I know he's got his problems, but just watching it at the ground, he chases hard. Doesn't always work out. Sometimes he overcommits. But
what part when he's
really
running? When he's running fast, what part of his body do you think is moving fastest? I think it's his arms.
His arms?
Yeah. I think
he's got the T1000 run.
Oh my god! If he could run on his hands, he'd be an Olympic sprinter. Because I reckon his arms are going double pump to his legs. To be honest.
Yeah.
It's quite funny. I watched him chase someone down into the scoreboard or into the southeastern pocket, and it's like, Jesus, Keezy, your arms are going to fall off if you keep going like that. No. He played all right. But that's what we need from him.
Yeah.
We need.
No, I just thought,
good output.
he cops a lot, Keys, so I thought he deserved a little pat on the back for a good game. I know it wasn't the best opposition, and I think the game style probably suited him a bit, but that was definitely an improvement. A lot of people wanted him dropped this week, and he wasn't. I agree, he wasn't great against Freo, but that was a good response from him.
Well, I think, look, to be fair, I think a shootout does suit him because that's where his work rate gets him into a lot of good spots. And more power to him because his work rate is his one wood, and that's fine. But against a structured defence, I think he struggles and gets caught in difficult positions, not in the right spots on the ground. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see come finals whether he can maintain that form because you never question the guy's output, the guy's effort. He always puts in huge effort. It's just whether he gets a reward for it or not.
He's actually only one of 3 players to have played every game this year.
Amazing. And some of his stats are quite surprising. His season goal tally, his score involvements tally, his goal assists, and all that. It's like, yeah, all right. So, some of those stats are a bit fluffy, but nonetheless, maybe he hasn't had as bad a year as what we've all been saying.
Yeah,
I'm not prepared to admit
people
that.
people say we need to stop pumping up now. That's enough, and that's probably fair enough. But just a little clap for Keys, but he needs to bring it in the finals because we know that he's
correct
against the best opposition. He hasn't delivered yet.
Now, would you bring? I actually wanted them to bring in Mitch Hinge this week to give him a run, and I felt there was a spot for him, either Max or Laird. Sadly, no, but he whether they were erring on the side of the caution because of his hamstrings or whatever, but he had a pretty good game in the twos, and I think he's put himself in calculations as another player who we can utilise to get the ball moving a bit, and he doubles up as a good intercept player. He's not bad aerially, so does he come in under considerations, considering blokes like Worrell and Marcolani and Laird are probably just struggling a little bit?
Potentially. I think it's a bit tricky with that in terms of his role in the team because if you think back to the finals last year, we had too many defenders back then. And if we were to bring Hinge to the team, there's actually no defenders I'll drop. Cummings probably the only one, but we're playing him as more. Yeah, I don't think they will though. I still think they won. I think defensively he's their fullback. For any dangerous smalls. If we play an Artie Jones or Cozzy Pickett goes forward, or there's others too. Can't think of it off the top of my head. But, any small dangerous forward that they just want Max on them. So, and I don't think they trust anyone else to get the job done. And Hugo, well, he made some errors. He's not defensively. I wouldn't call him a liability, but he's not great. Let's be honest. But I loved Hugo's willingness to use the corridor. He always goes corridor first if possible, which is very rare for most of our defenders, apart from Mark Keane and Miller. So that's I don't want to get rid of that. And Nankervis didn't have huge numbers, but I loved his ability and this has been a theme of his, to just halve or win nearly every contest. He rarely gets beaten, and he'll find ways to, in a 50-50 scrappy ball, he's the one that emerges with it. I think we can get him involved more, but because that speed he provides, I think could be a real benefit to us.
Well, I think that's what's been missing from Nank's game in the last fortnight is just his outlet numbers. He's been good at getting through traffic and all the rest of it, but then his disposal isn't really hurting. It's another one of these, just make it someone else's problem kind of thing. You only had, what do you have, Luke? Only 157 metres gained on the weekend off the back half in a game that was very much about running. So that's not big numbers.
It's not, but I think in the actual critical moments, he doesn't let you down. So I think he will still be retained in the team. So then if you keep those two, and then obviously People saying Laird. Well, I agree, but I don't think Laird's going anywhere.
What about
So
Cumming?
is it he's the one, and they've dropped him once. Do they have it in them to do it again? Is what I wonder. But I mean, Archie clearly for Taylor is a lock. We'll have to wait
Yep.
and see if there's anything else that happens. I mean, is there a world where you could bring, if Saligo is dropped, could you bring Hinge in? But is that just too much of that sort of wing
I think it's got to
halfback
be light for.
types?
I think it's got to be light for light. I think if Jake gets dropped, it's got to be Dowling or Edwards that comes in, depending on what role they've had. I mean, I think Saligo had a little bit of time in the middle, in the centre rotations. How many CBOs did he have?
4. He had 4.
He had 4.
So he was a very distant fifth.
I thought he had more than that,
I think it's because they were in the last quarter.
Mm.
So it's more fresh in the memory.
Yeah, maybe.
But he, yeah.
Yeah, so if they want cover through midfield, then it's probably Charlie Edwards. If they want someone that's going to give you solid numbers on the outside, it's probably Dowling.
Yeah, I think they'd go Dowling. It just seems to be preferred.
Yeah.
Edwards, I think they either he's leaving and they don't want to play him, or they just don't rate him.
I don't think Matty Nix rates him terribly much. I think if Hinge comes in, it's got to be for a like for like, and working through them like we just have. It seems that Isaac Cumming is the one that's probably under the most pressure, given recent form. So that'll be an interesting selection, and of course, having the week's break, people are going to get fitter. We don't know who's been hampered by what, so that's going to have an impact on selection as well. So, but if it happens to be Collingwood that we come up against, pardon me, selection is going to be a big watch, because I think selection will go a long way towards how we go.
Need a bloody I was going to say find a way to put if we're going to have anyone on the injury list, hopefully it'd be bloody Ibis and Maley, just so Nixie doesn't get any ideas to go to bloody 5 tolls again.
Just do a Tonya Harding and go and kneecap a few people.
I was going to say maybe just to spike the drink, maybe but look, I think that's obviously, I'm sure you and Mac will talk more about selection on Tuesday, and then of course next week
Tuesday week,
when we have a bit more. Yeah, we'll have a bit more info, and as we know, mate, under the leprechaun, that chances are we get 1 or 2 more injuries between now and bloody selection night.
Never know. Never know.
I mean, bloody Milk hadn't done a hamstring in his whole life, but we've managed to. He managed to check that one on the list, mate. So
I couldn't believe it.
Anyone's up for grabs. It's amazing, isn't it? It's what reminds me of remember when Sam Gibson never got injured?
Oh yeah, and then he came to us and he couldn't get on the park.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, look, whatever. I don't know what happened there. I'd love to hear what they got to say at the end of the year to where it went wrong. It's insane. The amount of hamstrings, because it's just been hamstrings. That's it, basically. You look at other clubs, they're doing knees and ankles.
Hamstrings, calves, and backs. It was backs earlier, remember? We had 3 or 4 backs.
Other clubs are doing knees and shoulders and ankles and stuff, and we just love the older hamstrings and calves. So something went terribly wrong there, and it seems like everyone has to experience it once this year, doesn't it? It's a rite of passage now. You got to do a hamstring this year.
It's really shades of Brett Burton. Like when Brett came down to look after our strength and conditioning before he inexplicably got made general manager of the world, he decimated us with soft tissues as well. And this is no better. This is on the same page as Birdman's efforts. And Birdman had decimated Brisbane before he left. So, it'll be interesting to see what they do off-season. Obviously, they had the review mid-year on strength and conditioning, whether they decided to try and manage it for the remainder of the season. I don't see how they can keep him on. I really don't.
a lot of these hamstrings, apart from a select couple like the Hinge and Archie ones, they're very like nothing in it sort of ones.
Mm.
It's not that like they're reach sprinting and then diving or getting
Well,
pushed as they kicks, like the typical ones. It's all just been a training, just slight badly, one movement here or there and ping, it goes. It's
and not
that's a
only that,
worry. Just
it's the
means
management as well. Archie's done his 4 times this season.
it's wild.
Yeah.
That's
It's just
crazy.
really poor management. Lukey Pedler's going to miss a final series most likely because of poor management. Even Miller has done too. One of our prime movers has done too.
And
So
it's it's a real shame about Pedler too because with Milk out, I know Archie's coming back in, but with now that Saligo is
mm,
woefully out of form, Pedler would have been
mm.
a pretty good substitute.
Oh,
And
he would have been
he's
the one.
yeah, so and he's not gonna, I think he's still 3 or 4 weeks away, so he's gonna
Mm.
be he's too underdone to put in. So
Yeah, I
yeah, it's a
can't see
shame.
us. Yeah, can't see us using Lukey Pedler if we go deep. Even I don't think he's got enough time. So yeah, that'll be an
Go go.
interesting watch. But look, mate, I think that'll just about do us.
Mm,
I don't think we're going to have a Tuesday night live this week. I think I'm going to give Macca the week off,
okay.
considering we don't have any game coming up on Saturday, and then I don't think we'll have a wrap show next Sunday either. So we won't have
There's nothing to wrap up.
nothing to wrap. No. So it'll be the next show from us will be Tuesday night live, the week of the. That'll be the 1st of September. Will be the next podcast. Give everyone a nice little break. Give Brownie a chance to come back from some far-flung destination that he's at. I think he's in Hanoi at the moment.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so obviously the Discord will be running all through that time, and on game days during wildcard round, I'm sure there'll be plenty of people coming in and having a chat. But I don't know, keep an eye out. We might actually have some late breaking drinks for a watch party on a Saturday night game or something, or a Friday night game coming up. So just keep an eye out on Discord. We might get that going. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how we go. But in the meantime, big man, it's been good, and we made it. And we made it, and you didn't have to reveal your face because we didn't hit 16 wins.
Yeah, one short, mate. You can blame the showdown for that one, I reckon, or the Collingwood
But
game. Either way.
I just want to remind you that it was 16 wins for the season, not 16
Oh no
wins
no
for
no
the
no no
home and away season. And I can go back
no no.
and pull the tape. I can go back and pull
These
the
are
tape.
lies. These are
I'll
pure
go back
lies,
and pull
mate.
the tape.
I know what I heard, mate.
You heard what
Oh,
you
look,
wanted to
not to.
hear.
I know you're wrapping up, but just quickly, the All Australian squad comes out this week now because it was
Yep.
supposed to be last week, but there was some incident that happened. I'm not sure what it was, but apparently something big happened during the week.
Something happened. Yeah.
Yeah, but just quickly, who do you think will make the squad from the Crows?
That's a tough one, isn't it? Has Ranks left his run too late? You'd probably say yes under normal circumstances, but there's probably a couple of spots free. You might make this, I don't know. But it's a very interesting question because apart from Jordan Dawson, there isn't anyone that really stands out as an All Australian selection. And given our aspirations and our place in the top 6, you would expect us to have 2 or 3. So. No Thilthorpe this year. Probably no Rankin this year. You'd like to think that Jordan Dawson will be All Australian captain, although there's a bit of rumblings about Max Gawn. But I think, given what happened last year when Geordie should have had it, and given what's happened this year with Dawes, they have to make him captain, don't you think?
I agree. It's a good opportunity for them to make up for a pretty ordinary
Right or
mistake
wrong?
last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. He'll be in the team. I'm almost certain. I
Yeah.
suspect he's probably the only one in the team
Yeah. Miller
from
might be on the
us.
bench.
Oh, I think those 4 or 5 missed games, from hamstrings, I think it's going to be too much.
Might cost him. Yeah.
Um, I think he'll be in the squad. I think Rankin is touch or go for the squad, but I think he's just missed too many games
Mm.
or left it too late. So I should say, I know he missed 3 games, but uh,
Well, at the beginning of the year,
I
he
mean,
missed one, and then he had a hammy for a couple.
yeah, and he was slow to get going. He wasn't good until about round 5 or 6. So,
Correct.
um, I mean, it's funny. Like if you play well in the second half of the year, that's a lot better than playing well in the first half of the year. It's just
Mm.
recency bias.
Mm.
So that may work for him. And as you said, with Warner and Heaney both missing out, and Heaney would have been a lock for sure, and
Oh,
Warner
yeah,
was a real chance
100%.
for the bench spot.
Yeah.
There's a chance Rankin gets in. I think he does make the squad now, though, at least, which is still a
Yeah, I
great
think
effort.
I
Um,
think that's true.
but I think it's just those three, and I can't think of anyone else who would deserve it anyway.
No, no, no. So never mind. Well, and we didn't have anyone in the 22 under 22 either, did we?
No, we only had Curtin in the squad, but he didn't make the team.
Yeah.
I mean that team is selected so the squad's selected by a panel or someone, but the actual team itself is selected by the fans, like it's voting.
Right. Okay.
It doesn't really, it's really just a popularity vote. Like Josh Weddle made that team, and if you ask any Hawks fans, they've been really disappointed with him this year for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's not great. You'd like a couple more names around the mark. I know we got really high hopes on Dan, and he's going to be a star. We know that, but
Mm. Mm.
you'd like to think next year we'll have like a Luderwerk or a Draper or someone else
Yeah.
in that group. But
Zed Taylor.
yeah, well, he's too old, mate. The milk still.
No, I mean for all
Yeah.
Australian. All Australian.
Oh, yeah, full pocket, lock it in. Actually, no, sorry, midfielder on ball.
That's
Lock it
right.
in, mate.
Center. Just playing center.
Yeah,
Right in the
exactly.
pivot. Yeah.
That's the dream, mate.
All right. Well, on that fantasy note, thank you everyone for joining us tonight and for all your support throughout the season. Don't forget, no Tuesday Night Live this week, no Weekend Wrap next Sunday, but Macca and I will be back on the 1st. Is the 1st? Yeah, the 1st of September to cover off wildcard round and preview our elimination final against whoever that might be. So Discord's still open. If you aren't yet a member of Discord, it'd be a good time to join. And also don't forget, people, for those who didn't listen to my raving lunacy on Tuesday night about the 2028 board reforms, did you get around that, big man?
Oh, I was very much
listen to Tuesday night.
in the chat. Yeah, I listened, and I was in the chat. I probably made one or two many jokes about the hotel incident, but yeah, no,
Too much cough medicine, mate.
No, I wasn't joking. Obviously, the incident itself wasn't funny. It's just the rumor that was about
Yeah.
a certain object being thrown.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I had to listen. It was quite enlightening, mate. I don't really know heaps about that sort of thing, so you're very much the mastermind behind that stuff, and it was interesting to hear what you had to say about the board reform and stuff. I hope that it really does get to that stage, and we can take some ownership back, because going forward, I think that's going to be really important as a club.
Yep. So if you know what I'm talking about, or if you want to learn some more, there is a board reform channel in our Discord server. I've put an overview of the issue in a channel, and then I've put a forum up there that we can have a chat about things. Initially, I'm just looking for people that are interested or engaged in just forming part of a bit of a groundswell of members and people to make the board accountable. I will also I'll pin a copy of the Constitution in that chat room area as well, so that people can have a read if they want. But we're a long way out, but I think the further we start out, the more momentum we'll be able to gain. So if you're interested in that at all and you're not part of our Discord yet, our links for Discord are in all our socials and on our video descriptions. If you are in the Discord channel and you haven't looked yet, go and have a look at the 2028 section of the server, and if you're so inclined, stick your name in to register your interest in the subject. Mate, on that note, fantastic. Thanks very much. Enjoy your break. You're still crook, so I hope you get over your lurgy by the time we speak next.
Yeah, so you noticed, did you? Oh, God, yeah.
Well, it seems to be worse than it was last week.
Yeah, every time I go to the footy now, the next couple of days are bad. It's not great, mate. This post-viral cough I've got, but
No.
yeah, it'll be all right. I'm better than I was, mate, a few months ago. So
yeah, well, you got 2 weeks off.
We move on.
2 weeks off, mate.
Yeah,
make the most of it.
So I think we need it, and I think the boys themselves could use a week off as well, and hopefully we are ready to go, mate, for a big elimination final on a home deck. Be great.
Yep. Now that we're in it, we may as well win it. That's what I reckon.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Be good, stay safe, and we'll see you in a week or so. Good night.
Night, guys.